guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH. We got a new 4K review for you guys today. This is Amityville Horror 2005. Now this video is sponsored by none other than Mint Mobile. Okay, it's not really sponsored by Mint Mobile, but here's the thing. When I think of Ryan Reynolds, everybody's like, oh, Deadpool this, Deadpool that. To me, he's the guy selling the cheap-ass cell phone. This was interesting because, you know, when this got announced, this is actually like an avenue on horror right now that I'm into, because to me, it's like it's crazy, but I feel like my 80s from my generation, the millennials, is going to really start being the 2000s. And so getting into those era of movies where we were really coming up during that time, it's fun to not only revisit, but like seeing these movies in 4K, because I don't know, it's interesting. I feel like I'm happy about it, but it's also like, Jesus, time is flying. Because next year, the Amityville remake is going to be 20 years old. And that just doesn't sound right. 20 years old. In what in God's name? It's crazy because I was listening to The Curse from Atreyu, which actually is 20 years old. And it's just like, God, man, I listened to that album every day for like 2 years when I was in high school. Like every day. Probably like 2007 and 8, I lived on The Curse. And my God, time's flying. But I try not to... I say I try to live in the past. This channel talks a lot about a lot of stuff in the past, but I try to look at today and enjoy the stuff that's going on today. And there's a lot to be joyous about. WWE's really good again. We've got that new documentary about Vince McMahon coming out. There's bands that I'm really into today. My favorite artist, Alice Cooper, still rocking and rolling. There's a lot to still enjoy. Manson, at the recording of this, I'm seeing Manson in 2 days, and I'm excited to see him live. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on. So it's okay to live in the past as long as you're also moving ahead. I'm getting too philosophical. Let's get into it, guys. So the Amityville Horror 2005 on 4K. Very excited about this because I have had more good experiences with movies around this era on high definition, 4K high definition, than not. So I was really excited to get into this. So I want to talk about the picture quality of this, then I want to talk about the actual movie. So I'm going to kind of swap things this time. So let's get into it right off the bat. The actual picture quality of the Amityville Horror Remake, I gotta say, this rivaled the quality, if not maybe even beat the Friday the 13th 09 4K that Arrow did. And the only reason I really want to compare those two is because they're both Platinum Dunes. They both made these movies, Platinum Dunes, which it's interesting when you talk about the Platinum Dunes era, naturally Friday and Elm Street are the ones that get brought up. But this was, I think this is actually one of the better Platinum Dune remakes, watching it again. Really, really crisp and sharp. And, you know, the benefit of the movie Amityville Horror is a lot of the movie obviously takes place, you know, outside in the beautiful New York area, which they didn't film this in New York, but really shined. I don't know, because I actually got this wrong. If you would have told me that Friday the 13th 09 was shot and filmed, I'd been like, no, it wasn't. But it was edited digitally, apparently. I think that was why I say that. But apparently it was shot on film. I wouldn't be surprised if this was shot on film. I will say that this movie looked so good on 4K. I don't have this movie on Blu-ray at all, so I can't even compare it to that. And I think that came out in 2010 based on research. Also, apparently this movie got a VHS release in 2005, and it was one of the last horror movies to get a VHS. So if you have this movie on VHS, hang on to that because that's pretty cool. But I was super happy with the picture quality of this. Everything was pristine, crisp, sharp. And the way I like 4Ks to look is when I'm looking at the movie on 4K, if comparing it to like an old DVD release or even some of those first era Blu-ray runs, if the movie has if it's sharp but has a flat image, that's where I'm just like, oh man, I want this to really look like I'm almost there. And this did such a good job of that. You can, when you're seeing Ryan Reynolds walking through the back parts of the house, there's no flatness to it. You really can see, how big the house is, the depth of the house, and just sensational. So the picture quality on this, I'm going to give it a solid 9.5 out of 10. So if that's one of your things that you're wondering about how good this looked, I definitely would put my name on this for the picture quality. Just super happy with that. Can't complain whatsoever. The audio was good. I keep saying I'm going to update my sound system, but I'll be honest with you, I'm a little overwhelmed on how to do that, getting into that and that sort of thing. So typically with me on a soundbar system, I like to do the 2.0s. I feel like it's got a little bit more compression and evenness. So they have the 5.1 on here, and then the 2.0 audio. So I did the 2.0 audio on this. The 5.1 is going to probably be a lot better for people that have better systems. They've got the speakers around the room. But for the soundbar people, I always recommend doing 2.0s. I just feel like they do a better job of, you know, making everything even-keeled with the volume of the voices, the music, and things like that. I want to talk about the movie secondary, but let's get into the special features, because this was what was really cool about this release as well. So let's talk about that. All right, so on the first disc, we have the 4K scan from the original DI film negative presented in Dolby Vision, audio commentary with actor Ryan Reynolds and producer Andrew Form and Brad Fuller. On disc 2, we have the new scan from the original DI film negative, New Houses Don't Kill People, revisiting the Amityville horror, featuring interviews with director Andrew Douglas and composer Steve Jablonsky. We have the audio commentary with Ryan Reynolds, Andrew Form, and Brad Fuller, deleted scenes with optional audio commentary with Ryan Reynolds, Andrew Form, and Brad Fuller, The Source of Evil, making the Amityville horror on set Peaks home movies, scare reel, and the theatrical trailer. I can't recall Steve Jablonsky being on a lot of special features before in the past, and during this time, Steve was doing the soundtracks. I mean, say what you want about the Elm Street remake, God knows I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's my least favorite out of those slasher remakes, but the music is undeniable. So Jablonsky is the man, and to hear him actually see him and hear him talking about his experiences, his methodology on how he writes music and stuff like that, really cool, because super talented guy. I think he's a criminally underrated composer. Just, I'm a really big fan of his, and his soundtrack on the remake was great. So I love, and that was a very in-depth kind of talking about the movie. I learned a great deal, learned more about the Platinum Dunes era, which is something that's becoming ever more fascinating to me about this movie. So 2 thumbs up on the special features. I really think our voices are starting to be heard. I think Scream Factory is like, okay, let's get back on track. Let's do, and when we talk about if this video hasn't come out, The Stepfather to me still shows an effort being put forward, because they did a good job originally on that, but they went an extra step. But I don't know if that review's come out or not, but if it has, go watch it. If it hasn't, stay tuned. So but very happy with the special features on this. I feel like I learned as much as I could, and yeah, so Ryan Reynolds, Melissa George, you know, that's the 2005 remake. So I definitely recommend getting this based off of picture and special features based on that. So let's talk about the movie now. Okay, so I hadn't seen the Amityville remake since 2007. I think I basically was renting this movie from Blockbuster. I remember I rented this when I was on a date with an old girlfriend. We went to her house and we watched this movie. So, and I remembered enjoying it, but you gotta remember something. This was well before Ryan Reynolds became the guy he is now. Now he's looked at, I think when you say the name Ryan Reynolds, most people get like this smile on their face and they see him as like this happy, jovial, funny guy. And I can't lie that it really took me a few minutes to get over that watching the movie again, because when I see him, I see a jokey guy, I see a silly guy. He's good in the movie. He is good in the movie, but I just, it's jarring now going back and watching this and seeing Ryan Reynolds play this role. I don't think he's as good as the original actor that was the father in the Amityville Horror, nor do I think that this remake is better anymore. I think there was a time back years ago when this movie was way fresher in my mind that I said it was better, but in reality, you know, I got the 88 Films 4K. I'm pointing over here. It's not over here, but I got the 88 Films 4K of Amityville Horror not long ago. I did a review on that. Go check that video out. And I have such a fondness and appreciation of the original Amityville now. I think the original Amityville movie is definitely a little bit more of a slower burn. They definitely raised the stakes more in the 2005 one. And there's actually some creepy moments where I think the original is spooky. I think the remake is creepy. And I know that kind of sounds similar, but with the 2005 movie, they definitely add in images of the ghost girl that was shot from the opening of the film with, you know, the original family that was in the house. Boom, 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 and you get to see the girl with the bullet hole and stuff like that. But there's a moment in this movie which it still creeps me out. When the little boy has to go to the bathroom, he's running to the bathroom, and he goes to, he's got to pee, whatever. He goes over to the sink. You see this dead thing with black blood coming out of its mouth. It is troubling, and it's still troubling. So there's moments in the remake that I'm like, oh wow, like that still kind of gets to me a little bit. I like the movie. I can't say I'm in love with it. I like it. I do like the scene that bothers me the most is something that a lot of you are going to be like, really? I have what's called submechanophobia. I have a fear of seeing things underwater, objects underwater. And there's a moment in the film, here's the dog barking down by the house. And so he jumps under the deck because he sees bubbles coming out of the water. And the dog's not underwater, but, you know, it's the house playing tricks on him. And so he dives underwater, and you see the camera as his POV underwater, and then you see him underwater, and you can see the undercarriage of the boat and the deck, and, like, that bothers me. I have submechanophobia, so that bothers me more than anything, but that's not supposed to be something scary in the movie. But there are definitely creepy moments in the remake that still bothered me a little bit, so I got to give credit there. So I think the movie's good. I think in the world of the Platinum Dunes remake, it's one of the better ones, hands down. I really enjoy it. Like, I would take this over the Elm Street remake any day of the week. I really would. So if you can get over Ryan Reynolds trying to be serious in this movie, because to me he's now the Deadpool Mint Mobile guy. There's a good cast in this movie. I thought Melissa George was sensational, and she was beautiful in this. So she was easy to get behind for sure and root for and just enjoy her performance. And the kids were good too. I thought the kids did a good job, and one of the better Platinum Dune movies. So I like the original more now, but I think the remake is definitely a good Platinum Dunes movie. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. Maybe you'll flip-flop. Maybe you really liked it back then, and now you won't like it as much now. Or maybe you hated it back then, and you'll like it now. It'd be interesting to see people's thoughts on that. But in terms of a release, credit where credit's due. Scream Factory did a good job on this. Good special features. The making of with Jablonski and the director was really, really, really good. I enjoyed that very, very much. Pretty good bang for your buck on this, and I definitely recommend checking this movie out and picking it up, because I think a lot of us probably had this on DVD only. I never had a Blu-ray. So Amityville Horror 2005, guys, is going to get 2 thumbs up from me. Let me know your thoughts on that movie. I'm so interested in seeing what everybody thinks about it. For now, this is your old pal CHH. God bless you guys. Take care, and I'll see y'all next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.